going on, everybody? It's been a while. It has been a while. Hope you are doing all right. Hope you're doing well today. Welcome to the return of 4th and 25. It is, for the first time this week, it is kickoff week. We have got college football this weekend. Super, super excited. We got week 0 on the horizon, so we got some games to look forward to. I know I've been out a while, took a little bit of a break. Um, and we're preparing for this big old show. So hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Stay cool, stay hydrated out there. Um, but welcome back. So we got a lot to talk about and not. So a new season is here. We got blockbuster week 1. We've got so many games to look forward to that week. Of course, Texas, Ohio State, Syracuse, Tennessee. We've got Alabama, Florida State, LSU, Clemson, kind of off the radar, Utah, UCLA. We've got South Carolina, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Miami, TCU, North Carolina. Huge week 1 slate. But before then, we got games this weekend. And at the end of the show, we're going to pick those games. So, year 2 of the 12-team playoff. Question is, who's going to be the surprises this year? Who's going to be the Indiana? Who's going to be the SMU? Those teams that no one had any vision of being in the thing. Who breaks down the wall and is that team this year? Um, Potential candidates. What about Illinois? Tons of experience back. They get USC and Ohio State at home. They don't play Michigan. They don't play Penn State, or they don't play Oregon. So schedule works in their way too. Texas Tech, a pretty veteran-laden team, but as we all know, Texas Tech made stories. Texas Tech made news with the huge portal class. Sorry, I got an update on my phone. It caught my attention. All right, Florida, talented quarterback. They're really good in the trenches, but a tough schedule. Oklahoma, phenomenal portal QB with John Mateer coming in. They also added Jaden Ott, the running back from Cal. Really good offense, but what's the offensive line going to look like? That's the million-dollar question. Tough schedule, too. I look at Florida and I look at Oklahoma as two teams that, if you're going to get a 9-3 team in the playoff, that's your two best bets because of the schedules. And finally, I put Miami on this list. Carson Beck's there. They're really talented. Interesting schedule, but they can't afford to lose games like a Syracuse. They can't afford to lose those kind of games if they're going to be a playoff team. Okay, group of 5 contenders. Who are at the front of the G5 pack as far as the playoff spot goes? I look at Boise State, obviously. I think we all do. Liberty probably got the lightest schedule of everybody. Navy, Memphis, Tulane. They just got Retzlaff, the QB from BYU. He's coming in. You got to look at Dan Mullen's UNLV team. They've got a lot of talent through the portal coming in. You got to look at Toledo and then James Madison, who I think is kind of getting overlooked as far as G5 contenders. So some very interesting players to keep an eye on. All right. Heisman watch. We'll talk a little bit about that real quick, obviously. Arch Manning, is he the front runner? I'm not going to sit here and say that. Garrett Nussmeier. You got Cade Klubnik, Drew Aller. That's all quarterbacks. You got Jeremiah Smith, the receiver at Ohio State. Ryan Williams, the Bama receiver. Jeremiah Love, the Notre Dame running backs on my list. And also Caleb Downs, the Ohio State safety. So a lot of stars, but could there be somebody I'm not even talking about who sneaks up into this? Be very interesting to keep an eye on. All right, so enough of that. Let's jump into our conferences, shall we? All right, we're going to start in the G5, of course. Let's look at Conference USA. So I have 3 questions, 4 things to watch is what I call it. Number 1, Liberty's bounce back. 7 starters back on their defense. Will they suffer any baffling losses like we've seen them do, like the Kennesaw State loss last year that nobody saw? Sam Houston, who was actually pretty good last year to their credit, but how does Liberty bounce back? It's going to have to start on the defense. New quarterback, new running back. Going to take a little time for the offense to gel, but Liberty, of course, they're still talented. Liberty will be fine, but they're going to have to go through a slight adjustment period. Question number 2. New contenders. Are they ready for this spot? Louisiana Tech. They have Liberty and Western Kentucky, two of the heavyweights, coming to Ruston. Um, Plus, they were very close last year. People don't realize it, but La Tech lost 3 games last year in overtime. Middle Tennessee, 15 returning starters, very experienced laden team. Is this the year Derek Mason gets the Blue Raiders into contention? And what about UTEP? They have a really good incoming portal and recruiting class for this league. They're more experienced. What does this year bring for the Miners as they prepare to leave the conference, actually? And finally, number 3, any odds of today? Not sure what he's talking about. Sorry, I got a comment. I was trying to read it. Number 3, welcome noobs. Delaware and Missouri State make the move as they join Conference USA this year from the FBS level. Missouri State actually has a pretty solid little QB, so I think if you're going to look at either one of those teams to make a splash in year one, the money would probably be on Missouri State, but I'm not 100% sure. All right, so that's Conference USA. We're going to look at the MAC next. We're going to go to the Mid-American Conference. Number one thing, experienced teams. If you look through the annals of recent history, no conference seems to get gutted every year by the portal and coaching swapping more than the MAC does. But there's 3 teams that actually have a lot of returning production. I've got Ohio with 8 returning starters. You've got Buffalo coming back with 16 starters. And of course, Toledo, who seems to always reload, they've got 14 returning starters. So those are the 3 that I think you would put at the head of the pack. All right. How about the new head coaches? This conference has a lot of new first-year coaches. Starting at Ohio, Brian Smith, he takes over. He was their offensive coordinator last year under Coach Albin before he left for Charlotte. Probably the splashiest one was Bowling Green as they hired Eddie George away from Tennessee State. If you know who Eddie George is, Heisman winner at Ohio State, NFL star with the Titans. Central Michigan brings Matt Drinkle in. He was the offensive line coach at Army. So get ready for a lot of running the ball at CMU this year. Mike Uramovic comes into Ball State. He was the head coach at Butler. Butler was a really good program under him. UMass, who comes back to the MAC, hires Joe Harasimek. I probably butchered that name. He was Rutgers defensive coordinator. And finally, Kent State, Mike Carney's the new head coach, was the OC. He got promoted as an interim coach after their former head coach was let go in the spring. So 6 new coaches this year in the Mid-American Conference, but that's nothing there. All right. Number 3, our final one, UMass returns to the MAC. They were 7-25 in this league from 2012 through 2015. So I'm not trying to be ugly to UMass, but I don't know what the MAC season bringing them back. But good luck. Maybe they'll do better this time. I don't know. But Northern Illinois bids farewell to the MAC. This is their final season in the Mid-American Conference as they will be moving on to the Mountain West next season. What will the Huskies do for their finale? Could they bring a conference championship? Who knows? Thomas Hammock, great coach. They're always a physical team. They've got some good players. Beat Notre Dame last year. So keep an eye on the Huskies as they prepare to bid farewell to the MAC. All right, next up, we're going to move over. Just a little talk about the Sun Belt real quick. 3 things to watch for in the Sun Belt. Number 1, kind of still fresh, and this is kind of still surprising, but hey, it's happening. Number 1, Texas State bids farewell. The Bobcats, of course, are headed off to the Pac-12 next season, but they look to close out their Sun Belt chapter with a championship. They will be another team, of course, to watch. Number 2, Southern Miss resurgence. Charles Huff comes down from Marshall and brings double-digit numbers of players. So basically, Southern Miss should be a lot improved. There's a lot of guys from that Marshall team last year that won the Sun Belt title are now in Hattiesburg. Southern Miss gets Mississippi State at home week 1. Keep an eye on that game. But Golden Eagles should be a lot better. Number 3, our last part, is James Madison the class of the conference? Veteran team, 3 very capable quarterbacks. Saluka, the transfer from UNLV that was wanting all that money, he's there. and they have a huge chance to make a national statement. Week 2, when James Madison goes to Louisville for a Friday night game, by the way. That game will be, I think, ESPN2. But a big opportunity there for the Dukes to make a national statement. Keep an eye on that. All right. AAC preview, 3 questions, things to watch segment. Number 1, is this a top-heavy league? Memphis, manageable schedule. Navy, 13 starters back, including a dynamic quarterback in Blake Horvath. Tulane, late arriving quarterback, but solid trench talent. Tulane's got, of course, John Summerall, who brings in good players. Tulane's not going to be a cakewalk. Ole Miss has to host them in late September. UTSA, talented offense. Road schedule looks manageable. What about East Carolina? Solid quarterback. Program's on a lot of momentum after closing last season on a good note. Army, yeah, they lost their QB. They lost their best linebacker. Still strong on defense, and they'll still be good on the offensive line. Will the option attack continue? Hey, mama. All right. All right. Number 2. Oh, and by the way, South Florida, rising program, who's also seems to be bringing in talent. All right. Number 2. We just talked about is a top-heavy league, but the bottom of the league. Charlotte, Tulsa, Temple, they have all struggled. Let's just no sugarcoating it. They have been tough to watch. But they all have first-year coaches. Maybe Temple, especially, they brought in the guy from Sam Houston. So we'll keep an eye and see if they can show any signs of improvement. This says AirPods connected. Hope y'all can hear me okay. All right, and finally, Rice. Rice just got interesting. Their new head coach comes over from Davidson, and he brings an option attack. So now, it ain't just service academies running the option. Keep an eye on Rice. They're going to be fun to watch with this new option offense. All right, moving on to the Mountain West. Change my notes here. All right, on to the Mountain West we go. Daniel Owusu. I had to get up with you, man. I'm trying to do a show right now, buddy. All right, Mountain West preview. 3 questions, things to watch. Number 1, what does Boise State do for an encore? Well, obviously last year, Boise State, with a stud of a running back, Ashton Jenney, who's of course now with the Raiders, they made history as the first G5 playoff team to get a bye. Obviously, it was the first year of the 12-team thing, but they were the number 3 seed, won the Mountain West. Their only loss in the regular season was Oregon by like a field goal. But then, of course, they played Penn State in the playoff, and they got shut down. But it was still a strong year for the Broncos. They're obviously favored to get back to the playoff as the G5 representative. Still have a really good QB, still a really good offensive line, defense. All right. Number 2, a league on the cusp of change. Fresno State, Boise, Colorado State, San Diego State, and Utah State all in their final years of the conference as they bid farewell and move on to the rebuilt Pac-12 next season. What will that look like for them? Obviously, we just talked about Boise. Fresno, first-year coach. Colorado State should be a solid team. San Diego State's in a rebuild, and Utah State, of course, now Bronco Mendenhall is on their sidelines. We'll see what they look like. UTEP Northern Illinois are on the way as they'll join in 2026. And finally, I couldn't do this conference without mentioning him. Dan Mullen is back as he comes to UNLV as the new head coach after a couple-year break as an analyst at ESPN. He brings a 103-61 record as the head coach at Mississippi State and Florida. I mean, my gosh, he had Mississippi State ranked number 1 at one time. That's incredible, just by itself. But anyway, Mullen returns to UNLV. All right. Independents. One thing about each independent. We'll start with Washington State. Major rebuild. New head coach. Comes from South Dakota State. Brings some of his players with him. It's going to be a little bit of a rebuild for Wazoo, but they'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Oh. All right, number 3, Oregon State. Has the look of a solid season, a really good backfield, and I'm not trying to dog them, but their schedule's very manageable. I mean, you play Wazoo twice, you play Sam Houston, you play Lafayette. Not a very brutal schedule. Oregon State's got a really good chance to go 9-3 as an independent before the Pac-12 comes back next season. Number 2, can UConn keep it going? Huskies 9 wins last year, a bowl win. Some of those guys are back. We'll see what the Huskies do for their encore. And then finally, of course, Notre Dame. What does Notre Dame do for a follow-up of last year being national runner-up? They got the running backs, they got the trenches, they got the receivers, they got the defense. But a new quarterback. What does the new quarterback do? And he gets thrown into the fire week 1 at Miami. So we'll see what Notre Dame does. All right. Now let's move up to the big boys, to a Power 4 conferences. We'll start with the ACC. Number 1, how dominant could Clemson actually be? What is the gap between them and the next tier of the conference? To be fair, and many won't admit this, but to be fair, SMU has done obviously shocked us all last year with how they've done in their first year. A lot of those pieces are back, but their schedule's tougher. Louisville is kind of flying off the radar, in my opinion. People don't overlook Louisville. Georgia Tech, they're a dark horse. When you've got Haynes King at quarterback and the weapons around him, there's some good teams. But man, Clemson looks strong. This looks like the best Clemson team, at least on paper. Of course, we don't play these games on paper. This could be one of Clemson's best teams in a long time. They do have to go to Georgia Tech. You got LSU week 1. You got South Carolina at the end of the year. Plus they play SMU. But with what they have on defense and what they have with Cade Klubnik at quarterback and his receiving core, like I said, I don't think anybody goes undefeated this season, but Clemson's one of the few I could see doing it, but we'll see. Number 2, obviously the story at Chapel Hill. What does year 1 bring Bill Belichick and the Tar Heels at North Carolina? He gets Lopez as his quarterback, transfer from South Alabama. He takes over. And if you have seen North Carolina's schedule, if you haven't, go look at it. It is almost criminally soft. Now, they do play TCU. That's not going to be easy, and they play Clemson. But outside of that, very manageable. No excuse the Tar Heels don't win 8 games in Belichick's first season. No excuse, in my opinion. And number 3, it's only up from here in Tallahassee, right? I mean, Florida State last year, 2-10. 2-10. And probably should have been 1-11 if Cal could have found the end zone. But they can't be no worse, right? I mean, they've got players, they've got talent, a manageable schedule. Look for Florida State to bounce back to at least get to a bowl game, maybe 8 wins. All right. Take a swig of water real quick. Moving on. Let's look at the Big 12, shall we? 3 things to watch or questions. Number 1, Arizona State. Obviously, last year was picked last in the conference in the preseason. And what do? They win the conference. Obviously, look, Cam Scatterboo was a big reason for that. He's special. You cannot replace a talented beast of a running back like that just overnight. They do bring in Udo from Army. I think I said his name right. He can't fill those shoes, but he can be a solid, at least, replacement. Sam Levitt's back at quarterback. You've got Tyson at receiver. There's some good players on defense. Texas Tech comes to Tempe. But Arizona State does have to go to Baylor and Iowa State, so keep that in mind. Also interesting, Arizona State does go to Mississippi State. They played them last year and held on to win. That might be an interesting 9-5 game. But keep an eye on the Sun Devils as they look for the repeat. What does the it's the dollar signs. What does that money on the transfer portal bring to Texas Tech? Obviously, they racked up. They had, I believe, the number 2 portal class. But they got some really good players. But they've also got veterans coming back. So keep an eye on Texas Tech. What does this year bring for them? Just because you spend money in the portal don't guarantee success. And then number 3, who else is ready to contend in this league? We always talk about how wide open this league is. There's a lot of good teams. There's a lot of teams that can win this conference. Arizona State, Texas Tech. What about Iowa State? What about Kansas State? They both have the QBs. They have the defensive players. Baylor's going to be explosive on offense and solid on defense. TCU, in my opinion, kind of the forgotten, off the radar, nobody's talking about team. Josh Hoover at quarterback. They're going to be good. And then I would be crazy not to say Utah. I mean, yeah, Utah went 5-7 last season, but Utah should bounce back. They're gonna have players. They bring Dampier in from New Mexico, really good dual threat QB, plus his offensive coordinator, and they're still gonna be solid on defense. Kyle Whittingham teams, when they have a bad year, they're not gonna stay down for long. So you can't sleep on Utah either. All right, moving on. We'll head over to the SEC real quick. A couple of things to make note of. Number one, how much is this league going to beat each other up again? It's a deep conference. You got Georgia, you got Texas, LSU, Bama, all playoff contenders. Florida, Oklahoma, A&M, Ole Miss, Missouri. Those are all teams that could make a run and get into the playoff. Tennessee is expected to take a step back, but they're not going to be an easy out. I mean, my lord, a 4-8 Kentucky team beat Ole Miss last season. I hate to talk about that, but it's just a fact. Even a trip to Starkville may not be a cakewalk. This conference is incredibly deep, and don't be shocked if the SEC champion has 2 losses. Just going to throw that out there. I think it's very possible. Number 2, does Florida build off the 2024 finish? They should. They've got a phenomenal offensive line, best center in the country. They're going to be good on defense. Question, can DJ Lagway stay healthy? But they've got a brutal schedule. Number 3, is this the year in Baton Rouge? What does the running back room look like for LSU? Can it be better? That's going to be one thing that'll tell the tale for me. Offensive line as well, because they did lose their best lineman from last year. They moved on, Campbell's with the Patriots. But I love the combination of Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins at linebacker, assuming he stays healthy. But LSU should be really, really good. LSU, spill the beans a little bit here. LSU is kind of my dark horse to win the national championship. I said that, I said it, and I stand by it. I'm not saying they will, but I think they're a dark horse. All right. Finally, our final conference before we take our first break. Let's look at the Big Ten. 3 questions, things to look for in the good old Big Ten Conference. Number 1, Ohio State looking for the defense of that national championship. They lost a lot. Their quarterback's gone. They lost their 2 best running backs. They got a lot of new faces on the defensive line, but they're still stacked at receiver. They're still stacked at secondary. We'll see what Julian Saban, I hope I said that right, does as their quarterback. They got Penn State at home. You got Texas at home. Obviously, you're looking to finally break your losing streak to Michigan. Good luck. But Ohio State's definitely still a contender. But defending that title, going to be a tall task. Number 2, which brings us to another contender. It is now or never for Penn State. You got Drew Aller at QB. You got Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton at running back. That's a 2-headed monster, pretty much. You're really good in the trenches. Your D-line is always good. Linebackers. You got Oregon at home. Ohio State on the road. Iowa on the road. Kind of a sneaky game. Don't forget that. Don't think they play USC this year or Penn State. Or Michigan, I'm sorry. Very manageable schedule. Super talented, veteran-led team. I've actually got Penn State 11-1, but we'll get to picks here in a little bit. And finally, number 3, kind of touched on this a little bit already, but just how good can Illinois be? Luke Altmaier's back at QB. You've got a returning, experienced running back. You've got good guys on the defense that are experienced. Super leaden team. We talked about it. Ohio State and USC come to Champaign. They don't play Penn State, Michigan, or Oregon. Do have a trip to Washington. Do have a trip to Indiana. Don't forget that. But this is potentially a really good team who finished strong last year when they beat South Carolina in the bowl game. Keep an eye on the Illini. All right, so we're going to take our first break here real quick, and when we come back, we're going to move on to Player of the Year predictions. I actually went out to predict who I think will be the offensive and defensive players of the year, and then I'm going to give you my Heisman pick. All right, so let's take a quick break, and I will see y'all here in a minute. Uh-oh. Well, hang on. I have a little bit of service issues here. Alright. Alright, so I guess we're not going to take a break. Over. Alright, for some reason, this thing froze up on me. Oh, got my screen. Didn't have that in my... Alright, had a little bit of an issue here. Sorry about that. I don't know what's wrong with the thing. Sorry about that. Alright. Alright, for some reason the service has gone down. Alright. Hang tight, guys. Hang tight. I'm sorry about that. For some reason, I can't get nothing working on my screen. I'm planning on that. Alright. So we're just going to keep going, shall we? Alright. Let's move over to our first wave of predictions. Let's start with Offensive Players of the Year, who I think will be the Offensive Players of the Year. We're going to start with Conference USA. I got wide receiver Kenny Odom of UTEP, explosive receiver, also a solid returner. In the Mid-American Conference, a name to remember, A.J. Henderson, running back at Buffalo. I believe he had 1,000 yards last season. I think he's going to build off of that. For the Sun Belt, I've got Corey Rucker, wide receiver in Arkansas State. Phenomenal weapon. Got a good QB to get him the ball, too, so somebody to keep an eye on. In the American, of course, I've got Blake Herbath, the quarterback at Navy. Phenomenal runner, and he can throw the ball. Navy actually had 1,000 yards passing with him. Navy never throws for 1,000 yards in a season anymore. That's awesome. But the wing T offense, as we all know, has been quite a force to be reckoned with. All right, Mountain West Player of the Year. I've got running back Jadian Thomas of UNLV. Keep an eye on him. Independence. Jeremiah Love, running back at Notre Dame, of course. I think he's going to have a great season. ACC, Cade Klubnik, the QB at Clemson. I think he's going to tear it up. In the Big 12, I've got Sam Levitt, the Arizona State quarterback. I think he's going to have a great season. SEC, I went with Garrett Nussmeier, the LSU quarterback. And then finally in the Big 10, this was a tough one, but I'm going to end up changing it right here on the show to Drew Aller, the quarterback at Penn State. I think he's going to have a really, really big year. Okay, I don't know why my screen ain't working. That's frustrating me a little bit. All right, defense. Defensive Player of the Year. Conference USA, I'm going to go with Colby Fields, linebacker at Louisiana Tech, I'm sorry. He's going to be my Defensive Player of the Year for CUSA. From the MAC, I'm staying in Buffalo with linebacker Red Murdoch. Sun Belt, I have got Texas State defensive end Khalil Alexander. He's a sack artist. Keep an eye on him. From the American, I've got linebacker Matt Harris of USF, another great tackler. I think he's going to be a force. From the Mountain West, I'm going to go with Boise State's Jaden Virgin Morgan, defensive end. Independence, Leonard Moore, cornerback at Notre Dame. ACC, Kyle Lewis, linebacker at Pittsburgh. I think he's going to have a great season. Pitt's got two really good linebackers. Big 12, Jacob Rodriguez, 100-plus tackles last season. I think he's playing like his fifth year of college ball, the linebacker at Texas Tech. Really, really good. SEC Defensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Whit Weeks, the LSU linebacker. He came on to the nation last year, really good. And I think he has another great year. Then finally in the Big 10, Caleb Downs, safety at Ohio State. I still think he's going to have a really big season. All right. Heisman Trophy. All right, here we go. So I did a top three, but I'm just going to tell you who I think is going to win it. For the Heisman, I'm actually going to go a little bit out of the window here, even though he's a contender. I don't ever hear nobody picking him. I'm picking Cade Klubnik of Clemson. I think he wins the Heisman Trophy for the Tigers. The Clemson quarterback is my vote, my pick to win the Heisman preseason edition. In case you're wondering, Garrett Nussmeier's number 2, and I got Jeremiah Love at number 3. All right. now we've got to get this thing right. What's going on here? Hang on, guys. I'm trying to figure out why nothing working. It's like my screen's froze up. This is really weird. Having some issues here. Hang on. Something right here. Okay, comments are working. Alright, did I get it to work that time? Alright guys, sorry for the technical difficulties. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Alright guys, welcome back to our season preview show. We've already done a couple of questions and thoughts from each league, plus player of the year nominees and votes, and my Heisman Trophy winner, who I think is going to be Cade Klubnik, the Clemson QB. Alright, so next up, we are going to do conference predictions, who I think is going to win the respective conferences. Okay, for some reason I can't get to my pictures. What is going on here? This is frustrating. I don't know why I cannot get to my pictures. That is frustrating. I mean, I've got some pictures uploaded, but I can't, for some reason, it ain't scrolling like it's supposed to. Alright, let's try this one more time just to... Okay, that ain't what I had in mind. Okay, let me get that out of here. I'm sorry, guys. We're having some technical problems, but we'll get on it. Alright, Conference Championship picks. So, here's what we got. Conference USA. I'm picking Liberty. I think Liberty's going to win the league. I'm going to say in the Conference Championship, Liberty beats Louisiana Tech. I like the Flames to win CUSA. From the MAC, I'm going to go with the two most experienced teams. I think Buffalo finds the way to beat Toledo, and the Bulls win the MAC. As far as the Sun Belt goes, I'm going to go with James Madison over Texas State. A rematch from the regular season in San Marcos. I think JMU is going to be really good. The American, I have gone back and forth on this one. And I'm going to go off the wall here a little bit, maybe, off the wall. Give me Navy. I think Navy wins the American. I think they're going to beat Memphis in the championship game. I like the midshipmen to win the American. Mountain West, I'm sticking with Boise State, the gold standard, before they say goodbye to the league. I'm going to take Boise State over Dan Mullen's UNLV team. So I think we get Boise and UNLV again in the Mountain West Championship. And I'm going to take Boise to win. All right. ACC, Clemson, obviously. I think they're obviously heads and shoulders above the rest of the league. Still the best team. But I think the second tier is not far behind them. But I think Clemson's going to be really good this year. Give me Clemson to win the ACC. And I think they beat SMU. I think SMU gets back to the championship game, but I think Clemson beats them. Big 12 championship, I'm going to go with Arizona State to repeat also. I think they beat Texas Tech in the championship game. And then in a rematch, too, because they play in Tempe this year. SEC championship. Who do I think is going to win the SEC? I strongly considered putting LSU here. I strongly considered putting Alabama here. In the end, though... Sorry, I did not mean to hit that. I don't know what's going on. SEC, I'm going to go with Texas. I think Texas is going to win the SEC. I think they beat Georgia in the championship game. I think they win a regular season rematch. I think Georgia beats them in November, but I think Texas pays them back in the title game. Finally, in the Big Ten, I got Penn State. I think they do lose in the regular season in Columbus, but I think they pay them back in Indianapolis. So I got Penn State winning the Big Ten championship. All right. So conference championships one more time. Conference USA, I got Liberty. I got Buffalo for the MAC. Sunbelt, James Madison. American, I'm going Navy. Mountain West, I'm going Boise State. ACC, I'm going to go with Clemson. Big 12, I'm going to go Arizona State. I'm going to go Texas in the SEC. And then Penn State is my Big 10 pick. All right, so I'm going to take another quick break here and try to see if we can get this thing fixed and figure out what's going on with my screen. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come back for Week 0 picks, and we're also going to pick the playoff. See you in a minute.
To hate, Andrew Anderson, stating truth that just can't wait. Got a podcast, like a punch right to your face. College sports villain, taking it over the place. I bring the facts whether you like it or not. Dropping truth bombs, giving it all I got. They call me a villain. Well, I wear that badge with pride. Nothing but secrets they try to hide. I'm rocking my veins, rebellious to the core. I won't back down, won't take it anymore. The bad guy of the podcast world, that's me. Unleashing the truth, setting it all free. Unleashing the truth.
All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome back to our season preview show. All right, so Week 0. Let's get to our Week 0 picks before we close this thing out with our playoff picks. Week 0, we got some FCS games, and of course FBS. I'm going to try to predict them. Let's see how bad I do. FCS. All right, we got Incarnate Word visiting Nichols on Saturday. A Southland Conference game in Week 0. I'm going to go with Incarnate Word. They're a preseason, I believe, top 25 team. They're usually pretty strong, so give me them. I got Tarleton State beating Portland State. Tarleton State's got a really good quarterback. UC Davis is at Mercer. That's the FCS kickoff game in Montgomery, Alabama, Saturday night. Give me the Mercer Bears, who are also, I believe, a preseason ranked team, too. Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge going on in Atlanta Saturday night. NC Central taking on Southern. I'm going to take NC Central. All right. UNLV plays Idaho State. I'll take UNLV, of course. Okay, so we've got, I'm going to kind of go backwards on these. We've got Stanford playing Hawaii. I believe Hawaii's a 2.5-point favorite last time I checked. But I'm gonna go with Hawaii. This is a big year for Timmy Chang's team. They've got some good players. Stanford, of course, on an interim head coach with Frank Wright. Andrew Luck's the GM there, so he tries to turn his alma mater around. I think it's going to be a rough year for Stanford, but I'm going to take Hawaii to win that game. Kansas is hosting Fresno State as they open their rebuilt stadium. I think the Jayhawks are going to have a good bounce-back season. I think it starts here by beating Fresno. Conference USA game, we got Sam Houston at Western Kentucky. Phil Longo takes over as head coach of the Bearcats. They got some new players. Western Kentucky, of course, lost their QB. They got a new one in from Abilene Christian, who put up big numbers there. And Western Kentucky usually is pretty good about reloading on that side of the ball. So give me the Hilltoppers. And then finally, we've got Kansas State and Iowa State. The battle in Ireland. Farmageddon is in Ireland. And nothing against Ireland, but this is a great regional rivalry. Why are we playing it in Ireland? This ain't fair to the fan bases. But anyway. Oh, I know why. It's probably because of money. But it is what it is. Iowa State and Kansas State. This should be a great game. Two good QBs. Kansas State's really good at linebacker. Physical game. I don't think it's going to be the high-scoring kind. But I've gone back and forth on this one. I'm taking Iowa State. Iowa State beats Kansas State. to start the season in Ireland. Give me the Cyclones to win. All right. Well, let's finish this thing out, shall we? We have playoff predictions. It is time. So, I guess I'm going to have to pull my phone up. Considering I can't get to the photos for some reason, I can't get the images up. This is bugging the crap out of me. I don't know why I can't see. That's working. That is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. For some reason, this thing ain't working. I don't know where the images are. But anyway, all right. Let me pull my bracket up since I can't on here for some reason. Give me just a second, guys. I apologize for the issues we've had today. Let me scroll down. All right, so it's playoff time. Let's start with who do I think the top 4 seeds are going to be. My number 1 seed is Penn State, Big Ten champion. But like I said, I don't think anybody's going to go undefeated. My 2 seed is Clemson. They are going to be at 2. I got Texas at 3. I almost put them 2, but I wouldn't be shocked if they won the SEC with 2 losses either. Texas is my 3 seed. I've got Notre Dame as the 4 seed. So that's the buys. I got Notre Dame at 4. All right, first round, your 5 through 8 seeds. Ohio State is my 5 seed. Georgia is my 6 seed. 7 seed is Alabama. 8 seed is Oregon. I got LSU at 9 seed. 10 seed, I've got Arizona State, the Big 12 champ. And then my 11 seed, I got Illinois. They're my final team in the playoff. It isn't at large bid because 12 seed is Boise State from the G5. That's my G5 team. So, first round, 12-5. We got Boise State at Ohio State. Give me the Buckeyes to move on. And I have them facing Notre Dame in the quarters. 11 versus 6. We got Illinois at Georgia. Great story for the Illini, but I think it'll end here. Give me Georgia. So Georgia would go on to play Texas in the quarterfinals. So we would get Georgia Texas for the 3rd time. My 10-7 is Arizona State and Alabama. Give me Bama. So I think Bama would go on to play Clemson. Who hasn't heard that before? And then 9 versus 8 is LSU Oregon. I think LSU stuns Oregon, and LSU rolls on to play Penn State. So your quarterfinals. I've got Notre Dame beating Ohio State. I've got Penn State beating LSU. So that sets up a very sexy potential semifinal rematch between Penn State and Notre Dame. And then on the other side, I've got Texas beating Georgia, and I got Clemson beating Bama. So that sets up Texas and Clemson. Semifinals. Texas, Clemson, Notre Dame, Penn State. Give me Clemson and give me Penn State for the national championship on January 19th in Miami. And then finally, who do I think is going to win the national championship? I'm picking Penn State. I think James Franklin finally gets over the hump and gets a monkey off his back, and I think Penn State wins the national championship for the first time since the 80s, I believe. But I think that's who I'm going to go with. I'm going to go with Penn State to beat Clemson for the national title, and the Big Ten wins a 3rd straight national championship. Like I said, it's now or never for Penn State. All right, guys, that is it. Man, great pace. A little shorter than I thought it was going to be, but of course I didn't know I was going to have screen problems either, but it is what it is. So guys, I appreciate y'all. I hope y'all have enjoyed our season preview show. We'll be back next week, next Wednesday. Different start time in the afternoon. We'll recap a little bit of week 0 and what happened there. And then we will jump into week 1 and we'll predict all the big games and tell you who I think is going to win those respective games. All right, sorry about that. But I appreciate you guys. Thank y'all so much for watching. Appreciate you following me on Instagram if you want, or our Facebook group, The Spread College Football Discussion. We have a lot of content on there that I post, and hope you enjoy. Thank you guys so much. We're going to close with our traditional Bible verse. Psalm 119, 105. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path, the path of life. Appreciate you guys so much. Thank y'all. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take care and God bless.